Hi there, welcome back to Robyn Scherer Photography. Today we're going to talk about crop options and all that is available to you. When you crop, the point is to draw your viewer's eye into where you want them to focus. So let's get into it. So if I start with this particular image, it is took straight out of camera. I'll go ahead and pop on my preset, check my white balance, and I like it a little bit warmer. I'm going to bring down the exposure, bring up the warmth, and now let's do some cropping. When you hit the crop button, you can scroll through multiple options, and the first one is your grid. So that's option number one, which I don't know if I've ever used that to draw the viewer's eye into my images. The next is the rule of thirds, which I use very often, rule of fifths, your diagonals and center point, and then your triangles, and then your golden ratio, golden spiral, and then you're back to aspects. For the aspects, you can see you have 1x1, 4x5, 5x7, 2x3. That is my choice to see that. When you come up to Tools, Crop Guide Overlay, here are all your options when you are scrolling through your crop options. Now, I forgot to mention, when you go into your cropping and you want to scroll through, if you're on a Mac, you use the letter O and that will scroll through all your options: grid, thirds, fifths, diagonal, center, triangle, golden ratio, golden spiral. Now I'm on aspect ratios. If I click that, come back here. If I click right here, choose aspect ratios. I can choose all of these and you'll see them all come onto the screen. So I'll just move that around so you can see all the options. I choose 1x1 for Instagram, 4x5, which is 8x10, 5x7, 2x3, which is 4x6, and the rest I don't use that often, I'll be honest. So those are my choices for aspect ratios. So if I go back in and use my letter O to scroll, I'm typically going to use the rule of thirds. That is my choice. So now I'll go into original. I'll choose my 8x10. And from here, you can decide how much you want to zoom in on your subject. Here, because we were doing a college grad shoot, this is important to me, the name of the university here. So what I would do is bring this out so that we are definitely focused on her, but you're also getting a little bit more of the story in your crop. And to me, that's very important because your crop is pulling your viewer in. You're also using composition to tell your story. So the sign, the crop, it's all part of the story I'm telling for this particular image. So I will leave that there. So if we go to another image, let me go into, let's say this one, and I reset, and I pop on my preset and bring down the exposure. I'm always going to use my eyedropper for checking white balance. That is too cool for me, so I'll warm it up. I keep an eye on her skin tone so that I make sure everything looks creamy and beautiful in the skin tones. So we go into our cropping. Again, I'll probably use the rule of thirds, my 8x10. I'm going to move this over. Again, this is part of the story. So composition, and as you're shooting, you will get better at telling the story in your lens before you even go into post-processing. So while I was creating this image, I knew I was putting her on the rule of thirds. I knew I wanted the sign as part of the story. So she's not exactly on my rule of third, I can pull this in a hair, but the sign is on the rule of thirds. She's very close. I feel like we have San Luis Obispo, California, Polytechnic. So you're getting the story. So I would leave that cropped just like that. Now it looks like I had my 50 millimeter on. Had I had my 35 millimeter, we'd probably have a little bit more options in the crop area, but I didn't. I used this lens very specifically. It's kind of my workhorse. I like it. So let's head over to a different image. So let's check out this one. So I'm going to reset it. Here is Sook, straight out of camera. I'm going to hit my basic preset, and that is way too warm. So I'm going to look for a mid-tone gray to use the white balance check. So I would probably use something like this. Made it a little bit too cool. Again, use your backslash to check straight out of camera and what you're doing to keep on track so you're not doing some crazy edit. So here is where my white balance is. I don't love it. I'm going to bring up the warmth and bring down some of the greens. I'll probably bring this down a hair, bring down the exposure a bit. Now, let's go to cropping. So rule of thirds, 8x10. Now, we could scroll through and find the center. So there she is, smack dab center. So if you're wanting your subject in the center, this is a great option. Being in the center, sometimes that's exactly where you want them to be. So if I left that there, I think that would be great. If I wanted something a bit more creative, let's use the O and cycle through. So the golden ratio. Now the golden spiral, the way you would use this is you'd bring that and place it on her. So this is where you want the viewer's eye to go. It's just a more creative crop. I feel like it's not exactly straight, so I'd probably use that as like my straightening to make sure the path was straight and straighten that up. And I feel like that's a lot more straight. I don't love the crop, but a lot of people use it. It's very useful for very specific images. For me, I would still cycle through to the rule of thirds and probably use it more so that her face is kind of in the crosshairs there. To me, it's just really drawing you into her. And that's how I would leave that particular image. We could do one more. And let's use a sitting down one. So here we go. I'm going to reset. We're going to go to basic preset. That's pretty warm, but not too bad. I'm going to keep an eye on her skin tone. And you can use the whites of the eye or teeth as a great gray zone to check your white balance, and backslash to Sook. So straight out of camera, you'll see there's a lot of yellows in the greens. That's a personal preference. Greens are always a topic with photographers. So I don't love the bright yellow. So that is where in my preset, I have worked the, let's put in my Sigma 50 here. Oh, we went to the 85 there. So that's where in the saturation, where am I missing that? In here, the color grading, mixer, saturation. I brought these down. If you bring them up, you can see a little bit more yellow coming in. I brought it down into the negatives. I just like those types of greens for me. So let's go into rule of thirds. Gonna straighten that out. Now, again, when I shot this, I pretty much had her where I knew I would put the grid. You'll get better and better at that as you shoot. So this is so that my viewer is focusing on the subject. So the only thing I would do with this image, I would always check the skin tone, check her numbers. They're not quite right. You want RGB should be 75, 55, 75, 65, 55. So we want a little bit more brightness, a little bit more pink here. And then let's go back and check. We might have to zoom in to get that reading right in the mid-tone here. 71, it's a little bit too bright. So we have 71, 65, 60, not too bad, but you want the brightness to be a little bit more. Here's where you can use luminance for skin tone and lighten her up a bit this way. So now we are at, it lightened her up too much, so let's bring it down. Let's see where we are. So we are at 72. We're almost there. And there we go. Her skin tone's right on. So that's a quick edit. I would probably also use a brush and do a little eye pop here. I have all my brushes created, and that just gives her eyes a little pop. And that's just a quick edit, but that covers your cropping options. So I hope you found that useful. Go ahead and click subscribe if you'd like to see more. And I do have other videos regarding skin tone using the luminance slider, using the RGB numbers. There's a video specifically for the skin tones. So click subscribe, take a look, and I hope to see you back. All right, thanks. Have a great day.